Well, good morning, everybody, and let me add my welcome to Vanderbilt Summit on Modern Conflicts and Emerging Threats. My name's Gillian Tett. I oversee King's College in Cambridge, and I'm also a columnist with the Financial Times. And I think I probably should start by apologizing for having brought the English weather. But more seriously, I'm delighted to be here because a key theme of today is not just global conflict, but also the potential for global collaboration. And the transatlantic element of that is obviously extremely important. Part of my role at King's College in Cambridge means that I oversee the archives of Alan Turing and John Maynard Keynes. And I find leafing through the letters of Keynes particularly haunting given today's situation. Because back in 1919, he lamented the fact that before 1914, the elites around the world took it for granted that globalization was good, that free market capitalism was good, that tech innovation was fantastic for them, and so it should be for everybody else. And of course, innovation in those days was about things like electricity and the telegram. And there was a sunny sense that that mood of peace and prosperity would continue forever. Of course, it didn't. And in 1919, Keynes wrote a lot about a very dark world that was emerging, where all the progress that had been achieved was going rapidly into reverse. And I must say, when I look around the world today, it does feel a lot like we're reliving history, in the sense that we're seeing not just rising protectionism, but rising conflict. We've seen the horrific events in the Middle East in the last few months. We've also seen the brutal invasion of Ukraine by Russia. But of course, what is going to be particularly in focus today is the question of China and how the US can cope with an increasingly aggressive China and the threat that poses, not just to the region, but more widely. So a lot of big questions to consider about how allies can tackle these threats, prepare for these threats, offset these threats, work with the private sector and others to try and create a more resilient and secure world. So we're going to start by hearing, first of all, from Daniel Diermeier, the 9th Chancellor of Vanderbilt. It feels a bit ridiculous for me to introduce him to you, given where we're sitting right now. I'll simply say that he has had a storied career running a number of business schools in America. I think that aspect is particularly valuable given that one key theme that is going to emerge from today's conversation is a need for collaboration between the public and private sector in a way that was wildly out of fashion 3 decades ago, of course very much in fashion back in the early part of the 20th century, and is now coming back into fashion again. We truly are in some ways going back to the future. But he brings a perspective of running business schools. He also is a political scientist. So those two attributes, I think, make him perfectly placed to kick off this morning's session with some thoughts about the world of emerging threats and modern conflicts. Thank you.
Well, good morning to all of you, and thank you, Gillian, for the kind introduction. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you to the 3rd Summit on Modern Conflicts and Emerging Threats at Vanderbilt University. And I have to say, it's wonderful to see so many of you. I just have to reflect a little bit when we started 3 years ago, which was really an experiment at the time, and to see that how quickly the summit has become a wonderful forum where experts from the security area, foreign policy, private sector, and academics can come together. And as it has done in the previous years, this now annual conversation will shed light on some of the most important security challenges of our time. Over the past 2 years, against the backdrop of an ever-shifting geopolitical landscape, we have looked at the shifting security landscape of Eurasia, the use of misinformation, that was an important theme, cybersecurity and emerging technologies, the changing nature of warfare, the acceleration of epidemics, and the use of biosurveillance, to name just a few of the themes that occupied us. We've heard from military leaders, members of the intelligence community, academic partners, private sector practitioners, reporters, educators, elected officials from this country and abroad. In short, with support and insight from partners and colleagues, we spent the past two summits offering unique, wide-ranging surveys of our current and evolving security landscape. And this year, of course, we wanted to do something a little different. We want to go deep on one topic. So the next 2 days, we will offer an intense exploration of China's relationship with the United States and the broader international community. We will start by laying the groundwork, exploring the geopolitics and socioeconomics in China, and then considering our tightly interconnected supply chains. Then we will dig into two issues critical to international security: cybersecurity and the trafficking of fentanyl, before a final panel offers a broad and strategic perspective. FBI Director Christopher Wray, who we will welcome tomorrow as our closing speaker, offered this framing a few months ago during an interview with 60 Minutes, and I quote, "The People's Republic of China represents the defining threat of this generation and this era. There's no country that represents a broader, more comprehensive threat to our ideas, our innovation, our economic security, and ultimately our national security." That quote alone gives us a lot to cover in just 2 days. But this work and our conversations are essential, given what's at stake for both nations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has described the interaction between the United States and China as, again, as a quote, as one of the most consequential relationships between any two countries in the world. The complex, intertwined, and interdependent nature of our systems today requires us to address China with nuance, strategy, and an interdisciplinary approach that recognizes how actions in our domain affect one another. And that kind of interdisciplinary approach is really one of the aspects that draws participants to the summit. It matters that we speak open and that we have hopefully ongoing conversations about national security leaders who spent their days facing down real-world security threats, that we have faculty members with unparalleled depth of knowledge in their fields, and industry experts whose companies sit on the front lines of our interactions with China every day. It will take all of us to understand this complicated relationship as it is today and as it continues to evolve, and to develop robust, effective responses to the challenges and opportunity it presents. The kind of radical cross-sector collaboration we need to address national security challenges is one of the things that sets Vanderbilt apart. It is a part of our culture. Our engineers and computer scientists, social scientists, and legal experts, brain scientists, and humanities scholars are all collaborating to discover solutions to the toughest problems in national defense and global security. And for us, this is not just an academic exercise. Consider our collaboration with Fort Campbell, for example, less than an hour and a half away from here, where we work hand in hand with soldiers and special operators to address real-world challenges facing service members and accelerating groundbreaking innovations with global impact. Through that partnership, Vanderbilt engineering and computer science researchers have already fielded solutions that enable US and NATO allies to communicate more effectively when supporting Ukraine by dominating the electromagnetic spectrum. And with guidance from our partners at the National Security Agency and in collaboration with Vanderbilt's Office of Cybersecurity, a team of undergraduate students from across Vanderbilt are using AI-informed gaming environments to develop new strategies to combat email phishing attacks by malign agents. We are proud of Vanderbilt's contribution in these important areas, and I'm extremely proud that we're about to take our commitment to another level. So today, we're announcing the launch of our newest endeavor starting this fall, the Vanderbilt University Institute for National Defense and Global Security. This institute will help us deliver world-changing solutions to the kinds of challenges we're discussing here today, all at the speed of modern conflict. Led by our School of Engineering, in partnership with our College of Arts and Sciences and our Peabody College of Education and Human Development, the Institute for National Defense and Global Security will organize our efforts through 4 interrelated pillars: innovate, educate, convene, and advise. Through the innovate pillar, we will expand our collaborations with government and military by embedding interdisciplinary scholars with partners around the national security community. And I hope that will include many of you in this room. This approach allows our scholars to tackle the most pressing problem, designing with users, rather than for users, and greatly accelerating the rate of innovation. Our initial focus areas will capitalize on Vanderbilt's strength, including AI, cybersecurity, and human performance. Through the educate pillar, we will educate service-minded students aimed towards careers that address social needs, preparing them to become interdisciplinary leaders. Through executive education programs, we will also equip the current national security workforce with the information and tools to flourish in a world that is getting smaller as technology moves faster. The convene pillar builds on efforts like the summit. We will continue to bring together thought leaders and practitioners to discuss, dissect, and deliberate over the most consequential national security problems in our lecture series on modern conflicts and on ventures in the United States and abroad. And finally, the advice pillar will allow us to facilitate the exchange of ideas in new ways. We envision bringing national security leaders to our campus to work alongside faculty and students, sending our scholars and researchers on sabbaticals that support both classified and unclassified security-focused programs, and joining critical discussions to bring Vanderbilt's distinct voice to the table wherever our expertise is needed and welcomed. It is fitting and important for us to announce the launch of this institute with this audience, because our success depends on what we at Vanderbilt call radical collaboration, ideally with many of you in this room. We will continue to host the summit, nurturing this forum for this discussion and debate, but the Institute will help us grow and enhance our ongoing work to break down disciplinary and organizational silos that slow the groundbreaking solutions to national defense and global security challenges. But for now, I'm thrilled to focus on our next 2 days and the preeminent lineup of participants who will be with us. Consider just our keynote speakers. In just a moment, it will be a great honor to welcome General Timothy Hawk, Commander of the U.S. Cyber Command, Director, National Security Agency, and Chief, Central Security Service. General Hawk took on his current role just 75 days ago, well within the 100 days limit, right, when you assume a new role, and we're delighted and grateful that he made time for this event. At lunch, we will hear from Shita Patel, the Assistant Director at the CIA's Transnational and Technology Mission Center. And today we will close with the Peter W. Singer, a Senior Fellow and Strategist at New America. Tomorrow, at about this time, we'll hear from Ann Milgram, the Administrator of the Drug Enforcement and Administration. Her insights will inform our broader conversation about the fentanyl crisis. There were more than 112,000 fatal overdoses in the United States last year alone, making illegal drugs one of the most significant threats to our national security. We will also welcome Mario Diaz, Deputy Undersecretary of the Army, to provide an Indo-Pacific perspective. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, we will close tomorrow with FBI Director Wray. Nashville sits, if you really want to know, 7,000 miles from Beijing. But we're about to hear why geography is no barrier to the threats before us. These challenges in circular economy, our ideas, our innovation ecosystem, our workforce, our health, and our overarching security. The ramifications are national, local, and even intensely personal for each of us. These challenges affect not just national systems, but our immediate neighbors here in Middle Tennessee as well, including members of the 101st Airborne Division, factory workers at the Nissan plant down the road in Smyrna, ER physicians at our medical center coping with an influx of fentanyl overdoses, innovators creating new IP at our Wonder Incubator space, and countless other people whose lives and livelihoods could be upended if we do not develop effective responses to emerging threats. It's important to keep this in mind as we're starting these 2 days together. Thank you for being here today, for joining us in this collaboration and the common purpose necessary in this moment, and for all your work to keep our country and its people safe. Please enjoy the summit.